play dogs. That's a really good game. It's where you pretend to be dogs. You like run around and sniff each other's butts. You chase each other.
This is all part of the fullness of life.
Yeah.
So when we spoke last time on the phone, I said to you that we tried to find a definition of spirituality and leadership. And the way we're going at the moment is we're calling it spirituality and leadership, but of course it's spirituality and life. And we actually realize that spirituality is leadership. So the definition is the concrete and living human being in dynamic transformation towards the fullness of life. It's from an academic called Mary Froelich. And that was the definition that we felt was most easily accessible to people of all walks of life, professionals, religious people, non-religious agnostics.
Say it again.
I'll say it again. The concrete and living human being in dynamic transformation towards the fullness of life.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And really in our series of writing articles and doing interviews of understanding together with our audience what spirituality and leadership is and why it's important and how it's a holistic approach in terms of it's not just about work, it's not just about life, it's about how all these things come together. I think especially our clients who are mostly employees in corporate can learn a lot from small business owners because it's a very different side of business. The decisions become very different. The motivation is very different. The loyalty is very different. You don't change companies if things are not going well because you are the company, right? And you have to stay healthy. And as I know you, you also are very passionate about wholeness in your physical, your spiritual, and your mental experience and emotional well-being. So I thought, could you say something about what it triggers in you when I give you that definition?
I think one of the things you said that's interesting is about a small business owner potentially having more insight into certain things than a member of a large corporation. Because I suppose a small business is like a microcosm in a way. And everything that happens in a large corporation happens in a small corporation, only on a much smaller scale. And when it comes to leadership, because you're managing and leading a smaller group of people, it's not just the ability to interact with them individually, the necessity really to interact with everybody individually is paramount, really. You know, my industry is, we have a design and build team. So basically, I'm only ever as strong as my team. And I know that sounds like a cliche because it is, but it is so true. I am only ever as strong as my team. So if I've built a weak team, that is a weak business. So even though a lot of what I do is based around client liaison, preparing quotes and invoices and finding new work and making sure we get money in and all of these things, these are by no means the most important part of the business. The most important part of the business is making sure that the people within the business are happy, strong, healthy, in a good frame of mind. So in terms of that quote and that journey,
there's a big transformation in your company because of a personal choice that you made, because you found out about veganism, and it had not been something that you had very seriously considered. And then when you got into contact with that, it hit you so hard that you took a very radical choice. Can you say something about that journey, but also how much more the business became whole as a consequence of that choice? Was it different, or was it already quite whole as far as you're concerned if you compare it to other companies at that moment in time?
At the time that we made the choice, it wasn't broken, but it definitely felt like it became more whole. So this was about 6 years ago when I went vegan. I went vegan for ethical reasons. There was one fateful evening when I watched some documentaries, and everything that I learned that evening really affected me on such a deep level that overnight I switched from a regular omnivorous diet to a plant-based diet. And then over the course of the next couple of weeks, I realized that I had an ethical dilemma within my business. So we work a lot on location, normally in the French Alps. And when we're working on location, it's we basically provide all the food for the team members within the company. So at the time, I'd switched to a plant-based diet for ethical reasons, which I felt really, really strongly about. But I was still buying meat and cheese and milk and all of these non-vegan products for the other members of the company, you know, for evening meals, for breakfast, for lunch. And I decided that this just wasn't going to work for me. You know, having said what I've said about us being a team, at the end of the day, I'm still sort of the leader of that business, and I'm the one who drives that business forward. I'm the one with the vision, and I'm the one with, I suppose vision is the best word. And in order for me to really achieve what we wanted to achieve, I needed to have full belief in everything that I was doing. And of course, us spending company money on meat and cheese and contributing to the animal agriculture industry just wasn't sitting right with me, and it was not something that I could do moving forward. Now, how I went about it was relatively radical. Maybe I could have gone about it differently, but it seemed to work all right. I basically just explained to everybody that we were all switching to a plant-based diet. Maybe I told everybody we were switching to a plant-based diet. But I think what I said was that the food that we're going to be providing from now on is going to be plant-based. If anybody wants to continue with their omnivorous diet, they can get their own food. But everyone was happy with the change. And we made sure that the food was healthy and nutritious, and we didn't just shock everybody out of the old lifestyle and into the new. But it's so important for me. I think something that Simon Sinek built a career on is this reason why, isn't it? It's like, it's not what you do and it's not how you do it, it's why you do it. And if you haven't got a strong why, it's very difficult for a business to succeed long term. And us being on a plant-based diet and my switching to a plant-based diet was a big reason why I was who I was, and another reason why I was kind of in business. So this really helped with the direction. So on the whole, everybody who works for Custom comes and develops an awareness. It's about conscious eating, really. I think that's what I really like. If people can start eating more consciously, then that's only going to be a good thing for everyone. I feel like eating meat and dairy can be a lose-lose situation. I don't see any winners in the chain of events, from the animals being in captivity through to the slaughter and being put on our table. I don't see any winners, apart from, if you class the people right at the top who are making a lot of money. Then okay, they're making a lot of money, in fact. So to them, I suppose they're winners, but everybody else loses. The planet loses, the animals lose big time. And the irony is that we lose, because most of the food that's coming down through that chain is extremely bad for us. So I think with that, you bring that type of a philosophy into a business, you start taking away a lose-lose mindset, and you start bringing in a more circular system of energy into your business. And I think that really, that really showed. And yeah, we started becoming more successful in a way. We were more productive. On site, our staff were healthier. They were happier. But then other things to the business, which were something that I'd never suspected might happen. One of them was that when we were pitching for work, we would normally pitch alongside 2 or 3 other businesses. And at the end of the day of pitching, our clients would always remember us because we'd be the vegan builders. So within business, one of the things you've got to achieve is you've got to achieve a USP, a unique selling point. It's what makes you different from your competitors. First, you've got to be different, because when you're different, then they can identify you and you stand out. And even though I hadn't necessarily wanted to achieve this, this also came about from it. And then the other thing that I think came about from it is when you switch to a plant-based diet, it shows empathy. Shows empathy towards the animal kingdom, shows empathy towards, our planet. And I think when people are deciding who they want to come into their home and change the layout of their home and, design and build their home, the idea of getting an empathetic building company really appeals to them. So I'm pretty sure we picked up clients because they liked that we had that empathetic and understanding side. Plus it shows that for us, profit is not the primary drive within our business. Because if we're going to do something like take a stand on an issue like veganism, it's not directly related to the building trade, although it does overlap. And it's not directly related to our profit. So it shows that we're doing something simply because we believe in it. And I think that shows integrity, and these are all the things that within a small business are important to a client coming in who's about to spend a lot of money. So yeah, the kind of positive knock-on effect of us making that decision has been amazing, been wonderful.
Cool. Well, in our next conversation, maybe we can talk about how the change in consciousness of this organization also started affecting its core business and the way it started sourcing materials, looking after staff, looking at the world, pitching for business, etc.
Yeah, no, I love that.